Hello, welcome everyone. I'm calling the meeting to order. Let's see, we have Molly is not here and she's the only regular member, Justin. So we'll be seating Fred and Nancy. Any changes in the agenda, John?
I don't have any, no.
Okay. The minutes of August 11th, 2025, any corrections? Fred?
On page 6 of the minutes, it says the meeting was moved to August 9th, 2025. Should that be September 9th, 2025?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. I missed that. And Bob, did you have that correction also?
Yes, on page 6, when we voted for the skier application, it says here the vote was 7-0. It's actually 6-1-0.
Okay.
Because I think against that.
Okay.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes as amended.
Second.
Any discussion? Those in favor? Opposed? That's unanimous. So what we have tonight is the Plan of Conservation and Development Review. That's really the only thing on our agenda for the evening. And we do have some input. We have a draft of the Conservation and Natural Resources chapter and discussion from stakeholders, municipal, cultural, and historic resources. John, you want to talk to? Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so first of all, thanks. So what we submitted to you, I believe on Friday, is the draft of the Natural Resources and Open Space Conservation chapter. And on our broad approach. So, okay, so I got some feedback on this and we're receiving more. But there was some initial confusion from some of the conservation community about the format of this first draft chapter, first draft substantive chapter, I should say, versus the commission's sort of broad approach of sort of maintaining the approach and format from the 2016 Plan of Conservation and Development. And I just wanted to make clear that while the commission has been generally happy with the sort of the topical based approach of the 2016 plan, which is to say chapters divided up natural resources, conservation, open space, transportation, housing, economic development, and so on. The commission liked that. We did discuss several months back before we sort of did our outline and schedule of consolidating some of the chapters to sort of simplify the approach. So natural resources, open space, and conservation initiatives are all sort of combined in this chapter. And in the other chapter we're going to be discussing this evening with some of the stakeholders, we had combined town facilities, recreation, and cultural resources as you know, sort of being of the same category. So if people were expecting to see the exact same table of contents with 16 substantive chapters, this is going to look a little different. It's going to have 6 or 7 rather than 16, and so we're consolidating some of these things, but the approach is generally the same, to sort of take a look at the topic in the case of the chapter we sent out of conservation and natural resources. We sort of take a look at what the resources are, what the town is doing, and what the goals should be. So it's a pretty traditional planning that way. But I just wanted to clear up any confusion that this is not going to be, just a carbon copy in terms of format and chapter, numbers from the last plan. Okay. Having said that, if you like, Mr. Chairman, would you like me to share the chapter on screen, the natural resources chapter?
Great. And then if you could talk through
Sure.
where you feel there were significant differences between 2016 and now, and then also reinforce some of the important points that we've already touched on. And everyone understand the process. We're gathering input from stakeholders here. We still have public hearings to do. So there'll be a formalized public hearing for public input at a later time. So whatever you're presenting to us now, this is the early stages of getting your input so that hopefully the draft that we put out to the public is reflective of all the important information we need from stakeholders.
Okay, so thank you. So in this chapter, so again, it's called chapter 4. That's just sort of the placeholder in where we had the initial outline. So we're including natural resources and open space conservation together. We provide a brief introduction about the broad environmental assets of the community, including Columbia Lake and Mono Pond, the Anita Faye Ram Marsh, as well as the open space acquisitions, the town's rural character, agricultural heritage, and that sort of thing. We go into a quite significant detail on water resources, and I would say this is a pretty significant detail. It's largely the meat of this chapter, largely through the input of the stakeholders that we heard from. We talked through our watersheds and aquifers and the location, a significant amount of detail on Columbia Lake and the management of Columbia Lake. And again, I'm going through this relatively briefly. Please stop me if you want. We also talk about Mono Pond and the relatively recent efforts in comparison to continue to protect Mono Pond and to preserve as much of the land surrounding Mono Pond and the Mono Pond State Park as possible, including trail expansions. Talking through ideas of wetlands and watercourses as key water resources, as well as our groundwater and the stratified drifts, even though that the state does not recognize any sort of Class A, public drinking supply stratified drift aquifers. And then we provide a little bit of an overview of what has happened in town over the last 10 years, focusing on Mono Pond, on Columbia Lake, particularly some of the water quality concerns and initiatives surrounding Columbia Lake. And then we are getting into, following that discussion, as well as natural diversity database areas, which tends to be wildlife concerns. We get into the issue of open space and talking about the priorities that the town has been applying when it comes to identifying and prioritizing open space acquisition. We talk a bit about the Zegda Farm, but as we discussed last month, we are going to reserve much of the discussion of Zegda Farm under the chapter we're discussing tonight, or the input we're discussing tonight, because it's more of a municipal and cultural resource more than it is just purely a natural resource. Including a couple of maps about open space, and we need to update the specific percentage, that would reflect the most recent purchases, which include a parcel on Route 66 that is being merged with the recreation complex. A little bit of assessment of open space and the work that has been done. So when we say assessment, that's sort of reviewing progress and identifying key elements. Again, carrying forward a lot of the initiatives and goals of the 2016 plan. The town really hasn't changed its direction when it comes to open space acquisition philosophy. And then we get into a few broad goals, which are, I'm just going to read briefly, to foster agriculture as an economic driver, complete the Mono Pond Trail Plan, continue acquisition of key open space parcels, continue proactive protections for Columbia Lake against increasing phosphorus levels and invasives, minimize the impact of watershed development, increase protections for riparian and wildlife corridors, which is something that we'd heard several times in the input, and then plan for proper management of the cemeteries located in town. I will note that we might end up moving that one, cemeteries, because we had reached out to cemetery groups for this month's meeting, and that might get relocated as a different broad goal. And then we add specific strategies that would serve to implement those goals or to deliver upon those goals. And I won't read these all in detail, but looking at business development that complements the recreation opportunities, working with the school to promote education on natural resources, increasing monitoring and management of Columbia Lake, creating a task force to work with the Lake Association to update their their watershed management plan, which I think is something that's moving forward on in terms of a goal. Looking at a right of first refusal for Camp Astawama, looking at best practices for phosphorus reduction, including the town boat launch and inspection programs. Looking at a rapid response program if there are specific bacteria-based algae blooms, and then looking at zoning revisions to consider a conservation-oriented zone, and particularly in environmentally sensitive areas. So those were the broad strategies and goals. And I can stop there. And if you want to talk about this now, we can. And then we can go ahead. Yeah.
Under item 6, best management practice for guidance for phosphorus reduction when entering and exiting Columbia Lake. That is not something I'm familiar with, all the time. I think that that's something related to the development and best management practices within the lake watershed. So I would like anyone from the lake community to weigh in on that. I'm not sure that that's a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, the phosphorus is a development issue, not a motorboat issue in general.
Okay.
And then it was later in that sentence, I'm not sure what the word stake means.
Where are we? Number
Sake
6.
of the lake education program that sake of being put together to educate people on their issues regarding to.
I think we do need to address the phosphorus reduction and best management practices, but I don't know that it's tied to
Yeah.
I2.
boat launches.
Okay. Would that, so we might have been combining a couple of different concepts there. Like the management is maybe more of an invasives issue.
Okay, yeah, I'll go ahead and hand up.
Oh, I was gonna say that.
That's great.
Hi, Savannah.
Hi, excuse me, sorry. I was just gonna say, I think the boat entering the lake is more of an invasive species management, so.
That's my point. So it's something to tweak in this draft. That's all I'm saying. Mary?
I can add to that, Mary Michael, 34 County Road, representing LMAC. There are 2 different goals in terms of our lake, and that is managing or preventing invasive species. We have never, knock on wood, ever had invasive species specific to the lake and aquatic plant. We've had one in wet plant. So we can separate that out. Relative to phosphorus, that is specific to the 1,900 acre watershed area, stormwater drainage, groundwater drainage.
Yeah.
There are maybe some motorboat impact with sediment redistribution. So our general statement is what we provided was a draft.
Yeah, I just want to make this point about this one sentence right now, but we'll give you a chance to give all your ideas. I thought that was an inaccuracy that we want to tweak in this, at this point, at least identify as this point. Don, I'm sorry, go ahead. Item 7?
And yeah, no, so okay, so I tweaked that, and then I went through the other ones. So yeah, 7 is about rapid response, and then 8 is about looking at adding to the zoning regulations for conservation areas.
Might we also consider something to encourage the Board of Selectmen to provide sufficient funding for the kind of active lake management that might be needed? I would hope to put that in. We'll get there. We're gonna go through all these.
Okay, so something like, I've just added this on the screen. I've added number 9, encourage the Board of Selectmen to provide ongoing financial support for both Columbia Lake Management and continued open space acquisition and stewardship.
Yeah, I didn't say that last part, but if we want to discuss that, we can. So I was simply talking about lake water
Sure.
quality, which is what I had hoped to add at this point, whether we add something in addition to that.
Okay.
I'm not weighing in on that at this point. You did have a hand up here. Yes.
Exactly what I was gonna say. Well, we're asking the Board of Selectmen to consider funding the lake. They also need to fund open space acquisition
Okay.
because they do not. And that's a very general broad goal that should be in here.
Okay, so you're suggesting that we add the verbiage as John added
Yes.
under that. Could be under a different line item for that, but how does the commission feel about that? Okay. Any objections to the open space acquisition suggestion? It would at least allow the Board of Selectmen, if there were public grants available, to utilize this clause as they go after those public grants. So planting the seed here is important. Okay.
Okay, and so that's what we have for this one. I would note that in reviewing this and getting some initial feedback, I think we might also just want to add brief sections on some other, like we may want to bolster the wildlife chapter or the wildlife section a little bit, where we talk about the natural diversity database and other things such as air quality. But that's, you know, that hasn't really been a significant consideration and not something that the town has spent a lot of time or money on. But there are other sort of, you know, natural resources that we may just want to make note of.
John?
Yes.
A couple of questions. The map on page 6.
Okay, just a second. Sorry. Yes, the map on page 6.
It's on page 6.
Yes.
I don't, yeah, that one, what is that? I mean, I know it's the town, obviously, but what is the?
This is a water resources map. So the blobs here, the crosshatched, are natural resource areas. That's the natural diversity database. We do need to put a legend in there.
Okay,
The other,
so you just need a legend on it. That's all I
yes,
want.
right. We have to just throw.
Okay,
the
then the map that's on page 8, which is the open space lands.
Yes.
In 2016, we also included private conservation easements and PDR farmland.
Okay.
It's open space. I don't know if you want to include that.
Yeah, that's probably a good idea. Yep.
So just look at the one in 2016 report.
Yep.
Thanks.
Before if there might be other specific comments, I just wanted to get a sense of the commission, if in terms of tone, length, detail, if we're sort of on the right track, if this is something that is you guys are relatively comfortable with, or if we're going too far in any direction.
With nearly everything in there. Okay. You know, we end up suggesting some word tweaks here and there, but overall, we really appreciate the work.
Okay, yeah. So, but this is you know, this presents sort of the story of what we're talking about and gives you the right sort of level of goals. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Would anyone else like to weigh in on this?
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah, John, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't want to cut off discussion. Obviously, we're happy to hear it. And I did forward this to the same group of stakeholders that we solicited last month to participate. And so, you know, I can hear some names, hear some voices in the room. Obviously, and Dunnick is there, and folks from the lake. I forwarded this back around to them for their comments, and we're receiving some feedback on that for just some editorial tweaks or things that we might have missed. So this is not the last version of this that we'll see. There'll be some additional edits.
So in the packet, John, I'm sorry,
yes,
go
sir.
ahead, Nancy.
Just a quick minor question. On the water resource map, there's blue And then there's purple. I know when you add a legend, you put those keys or key, you put those in there, but what's the purple signify?
The, ooh. I think that's probably order of stream, but I could be wrong. Janelle, do you happen to have any recollection? Janelle, my colleague Janelle Clark is with us. She's been working on these chapters also.
Hello, everyone. I can't think of it off the top of my head. I got it from the town's GIS, but because the background was dark, it was hard to differentiate what everything meant, so I left out the legend. But I will include it when I'm able to get a white background so that you can actually see what each.
I think the purple is the wetland soils.
Yeah.
If you look at the map from 2016, it looks like that's the wetland soils.
It could be wetland soils, and the probably the darker blue, gray,
Yeah.
purple is probably alluvial and floodplain soils.
And you know there, is it FEMA floodplain?
Sorry, Anne, I didn't hear the question.
Is it FEMA floodplain?
No, I think it's just wetland soils.
Okay.
Yeah, so there are some
Floodplain is
flagged.
crosshatched along the Hawk River. Crosshatched area along Hawk River.
The crosshatched areas are that's the natural resources diversity database, or the natural diversity database. Those are endangered and listed species are known to be in those areas. And so if you have a development project, for instance, you know, right off of here, off of the sort of south central bit of Columbia Lake, we'd have to check with DEP. There's some species of concern, and that's both plant and animal. Whether it's it could be a salamander or a turtle, it could be a bald eagle nest. There is some species of concern listed in that area, and any development would have to consider, get more input from DEP and consider, preservation of that resource as part of any development project.
John, that circle by Columbia Lake indicates that the bald eagle nest, the nest is not there anymore.
Well, you'd have to take that up with DEP.
And
We don't get to just erase parts of this map.
That's a pretty intensely developed residential area. So
Oh, it sure is. Yeah.
we can't think
Well,
of wildlife or.
And I'm not,
anything else.
I don't know if it's eagle. It might previously have been eagle. There might be something else there. And they don't tell you exactly what it is until you submit an application, because they don't want, like if it's like the world's last golden salamander happens to live there, they don't want to put that specifically on the map, because then everyone's going to go look for it and maybe step on it. So
John, if the data in the layer is questionable, maybe we just don't incorporate it into the POCD.
Well, yes, I suppose, but just because someone has a question about it doesn't mean it's necessarily questionable, if you take my meaning.
No, I wasn't saying because it was a question. If it's questionable, then maybe we don't incorporate it. So.
Okay, so that's also a way to not put any data in.
Statement.
That might be okay. Might not. We'll discuss it. This.
Okay. We'll make sure we cite the data date.
There's somebody from the audience.
just a follow-up relative to the bald eagles. We've been following them for 10 years. We've been working with Brian Hess, who is in charge of the Eagle program for DEEP. And we are well aware of that both nest. There are 2 nests have been abandoned, and we're still searching. They come to the lake, they fish on the lake, but they are not living on the lake. In the specific area, they were in Sleepy Hollow. Several trees were removed because 2 fell on a house. And as a result, they abandoned, and owls took over that nest.
Okay.
We
So,
consider-
yeah.
They're not endangered.
Okay.
I also, there was some information received from you, John, and there's some emails that were forwarded here. And there was an email. It is dated July 29th, and we didn't talk about that. but there were also some cultural, recreational, community resources, goals and concerns worksheet. Did these reflect input from specific stakeholders, or is this just a summary that of
Yeah.
that-
So that's
generated by-
that would be those are worksheets that were submitted back to us from some stakeholders. But the one you're referring to specifically is the next chapter we're talking about. It's not the conservation chapter. It's the cultural resources chapter that we're going to be discussing next.
Okay, but I'm not sure which stakeholder sent this to us.
Oh, okay. Well, I could track it down. What is it? I'm not sure which one you're holding.
I'd like to label these, but I'd like to know where the input is coming from.
So I received input from our town historian, from the Recreation Commission, from the one of the sextons of the cemeteries.
Judy Ortiz.
I'm sorry?
Judy Ortiz. You received a communication from her.
She did the cemetery, John.
Oh, the cemetery. Okay, so it's, and then also we moved over the Zegda Farm input.
So the document was a similar initial structure to these documents. So significant events of the past 10 years, it starts with remodeling of Rec Park - Victory. Who was this input from?
The modeling that was our Parks and Rec director.
Parks and Rec. Thank you. I just want to. And then the one that after the summary of 4 categories, not a summary, but listing 4 categories, significant events of the past 10 years, victories on Columbia Green National Historic District, and that is from.
That was from Ingrid,
Okay.
the town historian.
Okay, and then there was one that is clearly, it says cemeteries and the root cemetery. So that is from.
Was that from Anne, I believe?
And then there was one on the Burying Ground Association. Was listed under the.
I think that was the one that was the most recent one it was forwarded today, I think.
Okay, do you know if that is from the Burying Ground Association?
Yeah. Yeah, I think from this, if I'm not mistaken, from the section of that association.
Rich, will you?
Say again?
Rich, yes, Rich.
Rick Williams. I saw the emails that came in from him. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that. So
yeah.
Step is likely to have the different stakeholders that have submitted, give a quick summary of what they did.
And I don't know if there's anyone else there that would like to, yeah, if they didn't submit a worksheet, but it still would like to advocate for a particular policy or highlight a key resource, this is a great time to do it.
Yeah, Parks and Rec, how would you want to give us a perspective? Thank you.
Hi,
Introduce yourself.
For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jake. I'm the Parks and Rec director here in Columbia. This is my 2nd year on the job, so a lot of this, the things of the past, 5-10 years, I was gathering information from other people, and kind of just going off little things that I've done since I've been here. Far more victories than losses, I would say, here in the rec department. Obviously, you guys, have been here for a long time. You know how developed Rec Park has become. And it's something we take great pride in. Things I'm looking forward to doing as far as that goes. I would like to see, like, I know we want to improve our pickleball courts a little more. That's some of the feedback I've gotten, even though they're relatively new. Just like paving and different things of that nature, like a hitting wall maybe in the tennis courts. I would like to actually think I'm looking at right now and things I would like to do, think smaller goals. I would like to put little doggy bags, like those little stands that they have kind of around the park, because I know people walk their dogs, but then occasionally they won't pick up after their dogs. So if it inspires them to, terrific. So I'd like to put a few of those around, maybe some more benches. I think we could use a few more of those. Kind of dispersed around the park, because it's a big park. People are always walking and stuff, and I see people that are like, they're kind of like struggling out there. It's like, oh, I have to go back out this way to find a bench to sit on. So like little things of that nature. And I think at the bottom of the sheet, if I recall correctly, there is like big wishes and big goals and hopes and dreams that might take a little bit to come to fruition, but we can always dream, right? One big thing for me is it would be great to have like a separate building, like almost like a rec center. I understand that's a big ask, but that's why it was a big wish. It would be great to have programs and events and exercise classes in a specific building. It's wonderful. We love the opportunity to be able to use Yeomans for those kind of things, but it is a shared space and other things take priority. We totally understand that. So just to have kind of our own space, our building, where we can put things on, and I think it would be great for the community. Things we could do, maybe we could get a basketball court in there. We could have like a little library or something in there where seniors can walk in the winter and it's not terribly cold. Things. I'm just spitballing here, but I understand it's a big ask, but it was something that was presented to me on the sheet. So that was something that I think would be really great for this town, and I think it'd be build a great sense of community, and that is my job after all. So from that perspective, that was that. I also thought another victory we've had, now that I'm just thinking about this again, was we finally had our pavilion built down at the beach. I know that was a thing that was even an issue before I arrived. So now that it's built, it looks very nice. Our boathouse is constructed for a Marine Patrol boat underneath. That's working great. I'm very happy with the way the beach is currently being run. I think it looks overall very nice. One thing that a smaller-ish goal that we'd like to have down there is getting maybe a little outdoor shower. So after you get off the beach and your feet are all sandy, like you see at a lot of different beaches, it's easy to wash off and clean before you head to the car, all gross. And those are just a few things for now. I would like to see the Murphy house also renovated somewhat. There is like the whole upstairs is kind of just like part. If we could, remodel it a little bit and just use it, maybe we could put another office up there or whatever it is. Because I think it's a space that could be utilized. It's great for our storage right now, and I would like to keep most of it as storage. But if we could even use a little bit of the upstairs, put a little into it, I think we could turn it into a different nice little spot for us. So those are some of the ideas I have. I thank you guys for having me tonight and be able to speak on some of these issues. Thank you to John for reaching out to me in order just to kind of get some feedback. But obviously I really take pride in a lot of things we do around here with our recreation. I think things have gone really well since I've been here. I particularly enjoy going to the summer concert series and seeing the crowds we get, and everyone's very invested in those. And yeah, just another great summer here.
Thank you. And I realize one of the important parts of some of these dreams, what if we incorporate them, it's a seed for potential grants.
Yeah.
That's one of the most essential things is if it's not in the POCD, it makes it much harder to get grants.
Question under your victories or losses. You have the gate key system as a neutral. You don't consider that a victory?
Well, I mean, again, I was coming from my perspective, and I understand that we have people who might consider it a victory, like the fact that we have the gate key system. I also have heard feedback from people that don't always like the gate key system. It is something that is new, since certainly over the last how many years. It's been there. So I was the last couple since I've been there. It's just something we kind of have, and we kind of make the best of the situation, I think. Not that it's necessarily a bad or a good thing, in my opinion. So I'm not strong on it either way, to be entirely honest with you. It's just something we have to do, and I understand the benefits of it. But I also have gotten necessarily not everyone's a fan. So from that perspective, yeah, I put it as a neutral because I see both sides, and I've heard both sides. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. Nice to see you. Okay, next up, Ingrid. We would love to hear from you.
Yeah, so I don't have anything that I want to add beyond what I've already provided, which is quite extensive and detailed. In
Okay.
fact, overly detailed, but as everybody knows, we are facing, America 250 this coming year. And that's an immediate goal. I didn't put this in anything that I wrote up because by the time this is public, it'll be over. Okay, so it's an ongoing, history's an ongoing thing. But if anybody has any questions, you know, please speak up. I'm a little hard of hearing and I am not picking up everybody's comments. So if you have any questions, you know, regarding my comments on transportation, on traffic, on anything historical, please speak up. Thank you.
No, I thought I read through this. It really, in touching on the traffic issues, I mean, probably we don't have a lot that we can do about it, short of weighing in on speed limits and such. But that's probably outside the purview of the POCD. Any thoughts from anyone? Good, thank you. Very well done.
I like what she did.
Yeah,
I do have one comment that's not historical, pertaining to conservation and natural resources in POCD from 2016. I believe it was listed as a deliverable to identify all of the plants and trees in Columbia. And it occurs to me that some years ago, Joe Hill did a lovely presentation, and I don't know to whom, whether it was the Conservation Committee or, but it enumerated all of the wild plants in Columbia, and I think it's a resource that should be included in anything pertaining to conservation. I want to just mention it exists.
I appreciate that, but it's a thought from me, just as an individual. If there's some link we could put in there to an external database or on-site resource for that, it would be ideal. To list them all in the POCD probably isn't within the realm of practicality. Thank you. There was really, I can see why you didn't have a lot to say because it's a lot in the report. Thank you.
Great.
Yeah, it's really good. Anne, it's all up to you now. About cemeteries.
I'm
Hello, for your spot.
what Rich Williams contributed, because I've not seen that. Was there anything different outside of our report?
No, I just want to give you an opportunity to add anything additional. That's all.
Okay. No, I think I probably said it.
Okay. Good. There'll be more time in the future, but
if it's-
we've got a lot of really good info here and I appreciate it. John, any questions that you might have? Savannah?
No, I just wanted to, so I don't know, Anne, if you're a position where you can see the screen right now, I'm happy to share this with you. But I've put up on the screen the input from Rich and the Center Cemetery.
Yes.
Where he talked about some of the significant events were repaving cemetery roads, restoration of older monuments, ongoing management of the association, and financial stability. Some concerns is only 15 lots essentially remaining with no ability to expand and need to expand membership engagement. And then some of his goals were identifying future leaders, implementing a GIS mapping, maintaining status of independent, not interested in the town taking over responsibility, which, Anne, I believe contradicts your goal for cemetery management. And then having the town set aside open space for cemetery purposes. That was his goals. And I'd be happy to let you guys duke it out over who should be managing the cemeteries, and you guys just come back with us with an answer. But there were a couple of different takes on that.
I have had conversations with Rich and his board. See, in town, the town does not manage nor own either of the two active cemeteries. And so, I think the youngest person on our board might be like 65. And there is nobody interested in running a cemetery. And we have beat the bushes and looked. And Rich hasn't, his board is even older than mine. So, but we're hoping that the town will help with that management. Because when we die, who's gonna run the cemetery? How are you gonna bury anyone? What are you gonna do with the several $1 million that the two associations have? How are you gonna take care of these cemeteries? And nobody's stepping up.
So, there was one note on the second page at the top under losses. Center Cemetery was forced to sell donated expansion property when the town assessor taxed it as a building lot. So if it was donated, is the cemetery association not a 501c3 or a designated nonprofit? Does anyone know anything about that?
I do.
Okay.
Cemeteries
Bless you.
are 501c13. Now, you can't be a C3.
Okay.
And I'm not old. And I don't know what the difference is. But we can accept donations of money and
So does,
other things.
are there taxes paid on the cemeteries now?
No, they're taxes.
So why wouldn't donated property that was be in addition to a cemetery be taxed?
What happened was someone donated land to the center burial ground. And they were not ready to develop it, for a cemetery yet. And no one was buried yet. And so the assessor said, well, it's not a cemetery. And you can't claim it. So we're going to tax you on that as a building lot. And so they're having to pay taxes. So they said, we're not going to do this. We can't afford it. It's money down the drain.
Do you know if anyone went to the Board of Assessment Appeals?
I don't know.
None of this makes sense to me.
It was
Explain a little bit.
So they sold
How
it
long is this?
Do you know how long ago this occurred?
years.
Before I was born?
25. You know something?
I'm sorry?
Do you know when they sold that piece of land?
It was sold now.
So this might have been a long time ago.
Yes, it was
Okay.
at least 25 years.
Oh,
That's probably.
Well,
we tried.
I'm not sure this would be lost.
Yeah, I wouldn't
For this,
feel
yeah.
it's a loss, but not for this particular issue of P O C D.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
I think it was 25 years ago, we're not going
both
back.
cemeteries are almost full.
Okay, we get that. I just,
Okay.
if there's an issue here, we can help sort it out, we want to, but if it's really no longer an issue.
You take up that, but that was a loss. Whenever it was a loss, because now try and purchase land with cemetery funds in order to have a cemetery. You see, we're not talking about buying 1 acre. We're talking, you would probably need 10 acres or 5 or, you know.
Okay.
And that's expensive.
Yes, all right, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And so we have Rich Williams' report 2, which is a kind of almost an adjunct to what we just reviewed. Any thoughts on this, anyone? This is the last one that starts out, it's Columbia Burying Ground Association is about a third of the way down on that page. John, what else do you need at this point from the stakeholders, if anything? A lot of information here.
Yeah, no, it's great information, and I would also add that we had a really fantastic presentation from the Zegda Farm Management Committee that'll be incorporated. At this point, I think we can take it from here. There's a lot of good data there that we'll work on compiling and turning into something that looks more or less like the open space and natural and the conservation chapter that we presented to you. And so the plan would be we'll continue to make some changes to the conservation chapter based on input. We'll come back to you in advance of the second meeting of September, which I believe is the 8th, the 22nd, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So in advance of the 22nd, basically a cultural resources chapter, cultural and community resources chapter. And we will be reaching out to the housing stakeholders. So the next chapter is housing for discussion. I would like thoughts on people we should be inviting to the table. I would think certainly some of the Council on Aging or the CODA folks that have been active recently in town advocating for housing diversity, housing authority representation. I'm open to other thoughts on people we should be hearing from.
Possibly any private developer that encourage them to come forward. I don't know how to reach potential developers that aren't out there. Savannah, have you had any inquiries about multifamily development from developers that you feel might have significant testimony?
Not recently on multifamily, not any serious inquiries, at least. But I have obviously developers that I work with a lot in the town, and if we wanted to reach out for them, it's just mostly single family home type developers.
I think of, well, yeah, let's leave any door open, but if you can think of, when I think of housing, I think of the potential for possibly multifamily taking advantage of the recent changes in our regulations, but we're almost powerless to affect how affordable it is for regular single family development unless we came up with smaller lot sizes, and having that kind of goal, if we ever wanted it in the POCD, would be an essential place to start to plant that seed. Private roads, we've talked about that in our subcommittee.
So yeah, and I think a bunch of the because it was written just a couple of years ago, I think a lot of the background on the housing chapter will come from our existing affordable housing plan. A lot of that analysis and background stuff will update the demographics of it and such. But yeah, this is one that's probably not going to have the same number of big stakeholders as some of the others. But yeah, we'll bring the stuff together.
Okay. Anything else on PZC, Mary?
Thank you. Just as background, two comments. We met July 25th, and LMAC provided a draft that had not been reviewed by all LMAC members. They reviewed it the following week, the first week of August. Based on your feedback, and we want to thank you for that feedback, we have gone to our lake consultant, TRC, and they will be providing updated, more pertinent information from the 1990s until last year relative to water clarity and water quality, and what the changes have been since the 1990s, specifically in the last 10 years. We will be providing that with graphs, so I think it will be a little bit more of an example of why we believe the next 10 years are so critical. And I can't thank you enough, Rich, to say strategy number 9, that our Board of Selectmen understand how critical it will be relative to maintaining and protecting and preserving the quality of this lake. So that data will be in by the end of the week. I'll provide it to John. And John, I'll leave it to you as to how to incorporate it, or maybe just swap out what we put in.
You know, if I missed it in the narrative, maybe highlighting how valuable the fact that we haven't taken federal or state funds for any improvements in the boat launch, and it's kept the lake private and it's utilized at a lower level. Has probably overwhelmingly helped impact positively the health of the lake. So having that in there as a guide in case somebody 9 years down the road thinks it's a good idea to go after state or federal funds, at least there's some thoughts on record about that.
Yeah. John, I can put a comment in that when we get TRCs and send that to you in the same email.
I'm saying that as, I'm assuming you all agree.
Okay.
I agree.
Sure. That would be great. And yeah, no, Mary, if you had some thoughts, so hopefully you have a Word version copy of the draft chapter. If you, well, depending on the format and the complexity of what you get, you'd be more than welcome to propose just, language swapping out. If you want to pull out a paragraph about, and plop in the new paragraph with updated data, we're happy to take that sort of thing, because we don't want to wordsmith you too much, but yeah.
I think it would mean a lot coming from LMAT, that type of statement being added to the POCD. It was just a suggestion, but coming from one person is different than coming.
Thank you. Wise suggestion. Thank you.
Sure. Anything else we need to cover on POCD tonight? Okay. I'm going to move us on to item 6 on the agenda. Audiences, thank you everybody, really, and nice to meet our new regular. New. You can hear 5 years that be new in Columbia. Next up, audience of citizens. Anything anyone wants to bring up that isn't already on the agenda? Okay. No new business, no regulation revisions. The subcommittee has not met. Anything on, and we did receive some public comment that was really part of the stakeholder discussion, so I won't do that under communication. Anybody, anything else somebody wants to bring up? And we covered audience of citizens, no executive session. I'll make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. We got a lot done.
Great.
Earliest.
Thank you, Mary Kay. Jamil took off, but yeah. Thanks.
There you go.